Hey, I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for UFC 198 Werdum versus Miocic, which happens on Saturday, May 14th. But before I get into that, I'd like to plug an MMA group and my own author's website. The MMA group is UFC Betting Sharks. You can check them out on Facebook under UFC Betting Sharks. The group is pretty much for those bettors, gamblers, hardcore fans that do bet on MMA, gamble on MMA, do well, or else have great knowledge of mixed martial arts and UFC and fighters in general. Um, they're just looking for people that really know their stuff. If you'd like to interview for this group, contact Mitch Williams. You can just message him. I think he has a YouTube page. He also has a Facebook page. So yeah, just contact Mitch Williams, and you can interview with him if you want to be a part of this group. Okay. Um, Also, I'd like to plug my own author's website at www.chrismaldon.com. I am an aspiring author specializing in the fantasy genre, and you can support my journey of being an author by buying my first novel, a fantasy adventure called The Mustard Prince in the Convent Kingdom, for $8.95 at www.chrismaldon.com. On the website, you can also check out blogs, which are updated weekly, free short story compilations that are for sale, and the Writer's Talk web series, which is just me talking everything writing. Okay, on to the card. I like this card a lot. There are good fights here. There are good prospects on here. I mean, the very first fight on the card are between two prospects. You have Zubair Tukhugov. Mm, Well, he's 25, okay, but he has over 20 fights versus this really good prospect and Renato Moicano, who I'm very high on. I'm actually pretty high on Tukugov too. Font versus Lineker should be a lot of fun. Um, got a lot of name value on this card with like Nogueira, Shogun, excuse me, Maia, Matt Bryan, Chris Cyborg, Jacare, Vitor, Uriah Hall, Anderson Silva, Fabricio Werdum, Stipe Miocic. Um, Another good prospect in Warlley Alves. So, a lot to like about this card. I will say this right now. One of the hardest cards for me to pick. I'm not kidding. There are so many things about this card and so many like small weaknesses I see in the fighters that quite honestly scare me. I mean, almost every like fight on the card, I'm just like, oh, this guy's susceptible to the left hook. Yeah, he should win, but I'll tell you that one. Oh, this guy's chin isn't good, but the other guy's takedown defense isn't good either. I'll tell you that one too. So you know what? Yeah, tough one. This one is a hard, really difficult fight card for me to pick. Let's just get started. Okay, Fabricio Vicavallo Verdum fights Stipe Miocic. Miocic, 14, and this is for the UFC heavyweight title. Stipe Miocic, 14 and 2 record, 10 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. 33 years old. He's 6'4", he's the same height as Werdum. He's on a 2-fight win streak, training out of Strong Style Fight Team. At his best, he's a good boxer. Uses combinations well. Has good power in his strikes too. He's not super heavy-handed, but he's not pillow-fisted either. Verdum's kind of like that actually too. Miocic's also a good wrestler, solid wrestler, keeps a good pace in his fights. His ground and pound is really good. He actually TKO'd Mark Hunt with constant ground and pound. And Stipe has actually shown to have a pretty good chin and pretty good cardio as well. Fabricio Werdum, 20 and 5 record with 1 draw. 6 wins by KO or TKO, 10 wins by sub. 38 years old, he's 6'4" on his 6-fight win streak. Training out of King's MMA with Rafael Cordero. He is a current UFC heavyweight champion and a top Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. He is dangerous off his back. He has a dangerous guillotine. He's dangerous on your back. He is dangerous on top. Everywhere. His Muay Thai is greatly improving. He has good knees. He has solid kicks now too. His hands are still they're good, but they're like still kind of like they're not the great, not his strength in my opinion. Werdum though has a really good chin and solid cardio too. Okay, here's the thing. In my opinion, Stipe is a better boxer than Werdum. Werdum is a better Muay Thai practitioner than Stipe. So, depending on where the range of the fight is, I favor Stipe in boxing range when he's throwing punches, when he can throw combinations of punches. On the outside, all the way out, all the way in, I favor Werdum. Kicks from range, knees, knees and whatnot from the inside. Wrestling, I mean, I like Stipe's wrestling better. Of course, Werdum's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu top BJJ practitioner. I don't know how many times Stipe will want to take the fight to the ground. It could also be a case of Stipe takes him down, manages to hang out in his guard, and just ride out top control. It's not unusual to see a wrestler beat a BJJ guy and just nullifying his offense from top. I mean, it's actually quite common. This fight's so hard for me to pick because there's a lot to like with both. I do feel that Werdum has a little more variety because he can fight with the hands, but then he has the knees and elbow. The knees doesn't elbow too much, but he has the kicks too. But Stipe is just primarily hands. But once again, Stipe could easily get into that range, and he fights at a good pace. I mean, they both fight at a really good pace, so I can't really see one guy out, having like greater cardio than the other per se. I can see both in trouble in this fight. I can see a lot of close rounds in this fight, just a lot of close rounds because it's really tough to say who truly has the edge here. Um, Tough one for me to call, but I'm gonna go with Werdum. Ultimately, like I said, if he's already out, if he's more on the outside, he's kicking. If he's on the inside, he's getting some knees. Punching range, he's not. I say that Miocic's a better boxer, and I believe that, but it's not like Werdum can't throw a punch. That's not what I'm saying. He can most definitely throw a punch. You know, he's shown some susceptibility to the overhand right now that I think about it. Marquardt dropped him with the overhand right, and Roy Nelson, but they're both shorter fighters. Kind of makes me wonder if Stipe can hit that overhand right on Werdum. Got to think about that one now too. I also like Stipe's left hook too. But ultimately, I think Werdum has more ways to win, especially with his submission prowess. Stipe's tough though. Like I said, I think Werdum's gonna have a hard time taking Stipe down. I think Stipe can ultimately take Werdum down and possibly nullify him. But that's not to say in transition, maybe that's not the case. Um, so maybe Werdum gets if Stipe does go for a takedown, maybe he gets a guillotine or something like that, for example. Stipe's method of victory is like knockout or decision, possibly ground and pound. Otherwise, it's all punches too. Werdum, he can win with strikes, but then he can also win with subs too. Like I said, tough one for me to call. I'll go with Fabricio Werdum by decision. I am not super confident in this pick, but I'll go Werdum by decision. Next fight after that, Vitor Belfort fights Vitor the Phenom Belfort fights Ronaldo Jacare Souza. Excuse me. Souza, 22-4 record with one no contest, 2 wins by KO TKO, 16 wins by sub. He has 2 losses by KO TKO. 36 years old. They're both 6 foot. Trains out of X Gym. Souza is a former Strikeforce middleweight champion and a top Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. When he's on top, man, his guard passing's insane. Um, he is just so. He's really good on side mount, too. I mean, he can get the mount, he can take the back. But, he's one of the few guys that's just really good in side mount. I don't see that too much, you know? His stand up is really improving, too. He's actually showing some heavy handedness. And his offensive takedown ability is quite solid as well, especially from the clinch. If I'm not mistaken, he took down Yoel Romero in his last fight. Vitor Belfort, 25-11 record, 18 wins by KO TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 4 losses by KO TKO, 2 losses by sub. 39 years old. He's 6 foot. He's a former UFC light heavyweight champion. He's known for his strong boxing and being really heavy-handed. He has a good head kick too, though. His takedown defense is solid, and he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt himself. He is not on TRT these days. He's getting older too. Here's the thing with this fight. I'm gonna ultimately pick Jacare to win. I'm even gonna go by sub. I'll even go that far. Here's my thing. Despite not being on TRT, Vitor's still the better striker, in my opinion. I mean, Souza's made the improvements in his striking, but Vitor, Souza's still got to be careful. I mean, this is a guy that still hits very hard, despite not being on TRT, you know? And Souza's chin, it's alright. I mean, lately it hasn't been tested, save for that spinning back fist from Yoel Romero. But you don't see Souza getting tagged hard a lot of times. Ultimately, though, it goes. Ultimately, I can kind of see it playing like the Gegard Mousasi fight, where Jacare can crowd Vitor. I think he also out cardios him too. And I can also see Souza getting takedowns on Vitor. Vitor has some good takedown defense, but it's not impenetrable, And with Souza on top, even against another BJJ black belt, doesn't matter. Souza's, unless you're one of those super black belts, Souza's gonna win that battle, especially in that MMA too, especially. Standing, like I said, I think Souza can do well. I can actually see Souza crowding Vitor more so than anything else. Just crowding him. Just throwing punches to crowd him up against cage, get that clinch, get that takedown. Really. That's what I see him doing. In extended stand-up cases, Vitor could win. If Souza... and Souza's got to mind his P's and Q's. But he can also, like I said, I think Souza can just wear him down and eventually get on top, get the sub. So I'm going to go Renato Jacare Souza to win with submission. Not super confident in that pick, though. Next fight after that, Uriah Primetime Hall fights Anderson the Spider Silva. Anderson Silva, 33-7 record with 1 no contest, 20 wins by KO or TKO. 6 wins by sub. He has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 2 losses by sub. He's 40 years old. He's 6'2", training at Team Nogueira X Gym. And the last time he's actually won a bout, I mean, you can, unless you count that Nick Diaz fight, was back in October of 2012. He is a former UFC middleweight champion and the former consensus #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. At his best, he has strong Muay Thai. Pretty heavy-handed, actually. Really good knees. And he still shows some of and he's real unorthodox, so, you know. He still shows some of that greatness, like in the Michael Bisping fight. Like, he hit that flying knee, and he hit some other crazy strikes. He still moves his head pretty well, too. The biggest problem with him is his chin is deteriorating. Michael Bisping is not a hard hitter, and he is dropping Anderson Silva. The other biggest problem with Anderson Silva is his output is a lot lower. He backs up against the cage and he does a lot of nothing until he does something. But he would like back up against the cage and just start moving his head and avoid punches and really not do anything to predicate that defense. He just defends to defend. Uriah Hall, 12-6 record, 8 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub, 31 years old, he's 6 foot. His stand-up's good, he's real unorthodox. This is the guy that won against Gegard Mousasi by his jumping, spinning back kick to a flying knee. He's particularly heavy-handed, and his takedown defense and overall grappling ability isn't that bad either. The biggest problem with Uriah Hall is also, he can also go through bouts of just doing nothing and just staring at his opponent. It can also just be too. I don't know what it is with Uriah Hall. Like, here's the other thing though too with Hall. How does he lose? He gets pressured. Okay, Robert Whitaker, high pressure. Rafael Natal, of all guys, yes, he pressured him. Kelvin Gastelum, pressure. Anderson Silva is not a pressure fighter. He does not push forward. He actually goes backwards a lot. And like I said, Silva's chin just isn't what it used to be. If Michael Bisping is dropping him, Uriah Hall is the type that can put him out. Now, this is definitely a heart versus head pick. It's Anderson Silva. I love the guy, you know? One of my favorite fighters of all time. But he's 40 years old. He does a lot of nothing until he does something. And his chin isn't as good as it used to be. He is in Brazil, though. So that's another factor for all these fights. This could be something of a last hurrah for him. And maybe he's just taking this totally seriously. But I can't help but feel that Uriah Hall's just going to catch him with something, and hit him hard. And eventually finish him with a KO or TKO. It's just, like I said, if Michael Bisping is dropping Anderson Silva, Uriah Hall can do the same. Essentially just do the same. And probably even just put him out. So I'll go Uriah Hall by KO or TKO. I think he's going to catch him, probably with some punch, And Hall, for all his faults, his chin isn't one of them, His overall grappling isn't one of them. A lot of it's mental. Like I said, he just does a lot of nothing that he does. And, but skill-wise, and then he gets pressured, which causes him to just kind of collapse. But otherwise, stylistically, I don't think that's going to be the case. So, Uriah Hall, KO or TKO. Right after that, Cristiane Cyborg Justino fights Leslie the Peacemaker Smith. Leslie Smith, 8-6 record with 1 draw, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by decision. 33 years old, she's 5'9", training out of Cesar Gracie's. She's trading wins and losses right now, coming off a win over Ren Nakai. She is a brawler. She uses combinations. She's like real high output and uses body punches. Real sloppy though. Her grappling actually isn't too bad. It's not great, but it's not bad either. It's not like a big liability. She is very resilient and really game though. And against something like Cyborg, she might be too tough for her own good. Okay, Cristiane Justino, 15-1 record with 1 no contest, 13 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by decision. 30 years old, she's 5'8" on a 5-fight win streak, and she is the current Invicta FC featherweight champion. This fight is contested at 140 pounds, so it's something to watch out for. It is her first fight in the UFC. She is very strong. She manhandles opposition. She is something of a brawler at times, but she can show technicality, and she's pretty heavy-handed too. You know, her clinch takedown game and ground and pound game is one of the most underrated parts of her game. Watch the Marlos Kunin fight, ragdolls her to the ground, constant ground and pound. It's actually a very overlooked part of her game. So even if Leslie Smith somehow gets the better of the striking, somehow, let's just say Justino gets so tired, she can always get the clinch, muscle Smith down to the ground, and stay on top. I mean, if it comes to that, I don't think it will. It's actually a bit more of one of my more confident picks here. Um, Christine Justino to win. I don't method victory KO or TKO, but I'm pretty confident that Justino's gonna win this bout. Um, Smith doesn't really have the power to make Justino respect her striking. And then, like I said, if worse comes to worse, Justino can always use her grappling. You know, she's gonna be the much bigger fighter. I mean, Smith's fought as low as 125. Justino cuts weight to make 145. So yeah, Cristiane Justino by KO or TKO. Smith though might just be too tough for own good, and this could go to decision just with her being super tough. Next fight after that, Corey Beaston 25-8 Anderson fights Mauricio Shogun Hua. Corey Anderson, 8-1 record, 3 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by decision, 26 years old. He's 6'3", 3-fight win streak, most recently beating Tom Lawler, and an Ultimate Fighter winner. His boxing is solid. He's a good wrestler too, and he has good ground and pound. Overall, pretty good cardio too. Mauricio Shogun Hua, 23-10 record, 19 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. He has 4 losses by KO TKO and 3 losses by sub. 34 years old. He's 6'1". He's only won 3 of his last 8 bouts. And he's a former UFC light heavyweight champion. At his best, he has good Muay Thai. He used to have really good knees. He hasn't shown those knees in a while. He's particularly heavy-handed, but he brawls with his stand-up. He does have strong leg kicks when he uses them. He is a BJJ black belt, but he mainly uses it for leg locks and to get back, get off from the bottom and stuff like that. His takedown defense is not very good. He's kind of on the decline. He's just slower. His chin's deteriorating. His cardio is not that good either. Here's the thing. I'm going to pick Corey Anderson to win this one. I'll even go by KO or TKO. Here's my problem. Corey Anderson is susceptible to that left hook. I mean, Tom Lawler was hitting him all night with that. What did John Vellante hit him with that knocked him out? Was that a left hook? Mauricio Shogun Hua, it is in his arsenal. I'll say that right now. It is a move in his arsenal. Now, here's the thing. Corey Anderson can just wrestle and ground his pound his way to a decision victory. He's the bigger guy. He's got 6'3", big for the weight class, and Shogun's takedown defense just isn't that good. So he always has that to use. But I can see Anderson. He has these lapses in his defense, or there's just something about his defense against counters that just counter punches that just isn't that great. He's a guy that gets tagged from the counter a lot, or not a lot, but a good amount of times. That makes me scared, or worried that he's gonna lose. Nonetheless, I mean, besides that one strike that Shogun can hit him with, Anderson I think can outwork him. He's bigger, he's probably longer, and then he has a wrestling. So I'll go Corey Anderson. I'll even go by K or TK just because Shogun's deteriorating that much, On the Fox Sports 1 prelims, Matt the Immortal Brown fights Demian Maia. Matt Brown, 20-3 record, 12 wins by KO TKO, 6 wins by sub. He also has 9 losses by submission. 35 years old. They're both 6 foot. Brown's stand-up is good. He's real long, and It's real awkward because like he's a lot longer than you think he is with his punches, but his strength is in his clinch striking. His knees and elbows are insane. He'll knee you, he'll elbow you, and he'll even try and get trip takedowns um, from the clinch. He is very dangerous there if he can get that right position, like the plum. Brown has a good chin in that he's real resilient and really game, but he is a guy that does get dropped. He also has shown susceptible to the body. Like he gets like dropped from body punches. And his takedown defense actually isn't that good. You know, like Eric Silva take him down, Johnny Hendricks took him down like repeatedly. Um, it's all right, but it's not great. Demian Maia, 22-6 record, 3 wins by KO Tico, 10 wins by sub. 38 years old, he's 6 foot, a 4 fight win streak, and he is a top Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. One thing about him though is this guy out wrestles very good wrestlers. Like he just had like his clinch takedown game is insanely good. His timing for like his like double, like when he fought like Ryan LaFleur, he did like double leg takedowns that were timed so well. Like, and he doesn't have this like supersonic shot. It's just his timing's insanely good. When he's on top, he knows how to stay on top. His back control's insane. His guard passing's insane. His boxing though is just pretty average. Matt Brown has said himself that like he took this fight knowing that this is a bad stylistic matchup for him. He knows it. Most people know it. Damian Maia, more likely than not, can probably get the fight to the ground, take the back, or if he doesn't take the back, he can just control him from top. Um, I'm going to go Damian Maia by submission. I think he's going to take the back. I think he's going to try and get that choke. And I think Matt Brown is going to struggle to try and stop it. To try and stop that takedown. And struggle with the grappling. So Demian Maia by submission. Next fight after that, Warlley Alves fights Bryan Bam Bam Barberena. Bryan Barberena, 11-3 record, 8 wins by KO Tico, 2 wins by sub. 26 years old, he's 6 foot, training out of MMA Lab. This guy's got a good chin. He's real resilient. He's super game. He's always pushing forward. Everything about his game is kind of average, though. You know, like he's not a great striker. He's an all-right striker. His grappling is just average. His takedown defense is actually pretty solid, though. His grappling is average. I mean, he beat Sage Northcutt with a very unusual submission. Um, but he's tough as nails. Warlley Alves, 10-0 undefeated record, 1 win by TKO, 6 wins by sub. 25 years old, he's 5'11", training out of X Gym. He is an Ultimate Fighter winner with strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills, particularly strong guillotine, and he has some solid stand-up too. Unless Warlley Alves fights like he did against like Alan Joban and just like gasses himself out in the first round, like I don't really see why. Yeah, skill wise, I think he's a better striker, better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. The thing I give Barberena is just toughness and cardio, you know. But since that Alan Joban fight, like Warlley Alves has fought a lot smarter. He's been guys like Nordine Taleb and Colby Covington. Also, Bryan Barberena has fought at lightweight. Like he's tall, but he's like a pretty skinny guy. Warlley Alves is more of a legit welterweight, so his strength advantage probably goes to Warlley Alves too. But since Barberena is so tough, I'll go with Warlley Alves to win by decision. Yeah, but Barberena's just got that toughness going for him. Next fight after that, Nate the Great Marquardt fights Thiago Marreta Santos. Thiago Santos, 12-3 record, 7 wins by KO Tico, 1 win by sub. 32 years old, he's 6 foot on a 3-fight win streak, trains at a Tata Fight Team. He's a strong kickboxer, real heavy hands, devastating head kick, and his overall grappling game, like his takedown defense, actually looks to be improving. Like when he fought Elias Theodoro, Elias couldn't take him down. And then Santos was beating him up in the clinch too. He has good knees. Nate Marquardt, 34 and 15 record with 2 draws, 10 wins by KO TKO, 16 wins by sub. Has those 4 losses by KO TKO and 2 losses by sub. 36 years old, he's 6 foot. He's only won 2 of his last 7 bouts, but he did knock out CB Dalloway in his last bout. His stand-up's actually pretty solid, so he's particularly heavy-handed. His wrestling's not too bad. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. However, his chin is bad. I mean, there's this one point in the Dalloway fight where he just like touched him with like a left hook, and like Nate Marquardt was already reeling. And he's also just a guy in the decline too. He's not as quick as he used to be. Um, eh, Here's the thing with Nate Marquardt. These days, I just can't pick him confidently to pick him to win fights, especially against like even just good opposition. It just he's clearly on the decline. He does not take a hit very well, and Thiago Santos has really come to his own lately. He hits super hard, and I think arguably the better striker, and I think he's going to hit Nate Marquardt clean. So I'm going to go Thiago Santos to win this by KO or TKO. Next fight after that, Rob Font fights John Hands of Stone Lineker. Lineker, 26 and 7 record, 12 wins by KO TKO, 4 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by submission. 25 years old. He's 5'2", on a 3-fight win streak. Most recently beating Francisco Rivera. He is a brawler, super aggressive. He pushes forward. He has an insanely strong chin. I mean, Rivera hit him with some clean punches that didn't even like move Lineker. He is heavy-handed and uses body strikes, and those body strikes actually help him because he has a hands-low style with his takedown defense. It's actually pretty solid takedown defense. Rob Font, 12 and 1 record, 5 wins by KO TKO, 3 wins by sub, 28 years old. He's going to be the much taller fighter at 5'8", on an 11-fight win streak. Trains out of Team Sit Yo Tongue. Font's stand-up, it's pretty solid. He's particularly heavy-handed. And as shown in that Joey Gomez fight, his movement is improving. And his overall grappling game is improving as well. So, I actually really watched the good Joey Gomez fight. I was actually really impressed by what I saw from Rob Font. I was looking through John Lineker's record, and I'm like, who has he beaten? Who has he lost to? And I'm like Ian McCall. That's a really good win, but it's like, hey, that guy's mainly a wrestler, you know? And I'm looking through it, and it's like, yeah, the Francisco Rivera fight, that was a good win, and that's against a striker, and probably one of the best strikers he's beaten. But Francisco Rivera was content to brawl with Lineker. That's a losing proposition. I do not believe that Rob Font is going to brawl with John Lineker. I really don't. I think he'll probably play a range game. And he's a much taller fighter, and he can do that, and he moves pretty well. I can see him moving out of the way of any flurries and playing a range game. And if he gets in trouble, he clinches up. The thing with Lineker, though, is his fight-changing power. He is super tough. He probably has the best chin I've ever seen in MMA. And as sloppy as he can get, he overwhelms guys. Now, I think of Rob Font as something of a smart fighter. I don't think he's going to get lulled into a brawl. He seems to be steadily improving as he goes along. I would imagine, I don't look at odds, I'd imagine that John Lineker is a favorite here. I'm going to go Font. I think the guy's smart enough not to get lulled into a brawl. I think he can play a range game. I think he can get out of any potentially dangerous situations, either using the clinch or moving out of the way. I'm not confident in this pick at all. I actually was going to pick Lineker originally, and then I'm like, you know what? I don't know if Lineker has fought this good of a striker. maybe Francisco Rivera, but yeah, it's just one of those things where like the height and reach disadvantage, I think favors Font. And like I said, I don't think Font's gonna get lulled into that brawl that John Lineker likes. Um, I'm counting on certain things though. I'm counting that Rob Font's gonna fight a smart fight. That's the thing. I don't know if John Lineker will let him. He's just gonna be in his face all the time. So, like I said, that's why I was gonna pick Lineker to begin with. But like I said, I can't ignore some of the advantages that Rob Font has here. He seems like a pretty smart fighter too, like I said. So I'm gonna go Rob Font to win this one by decision. I am not confident in this pick whatsoever. I understand it's more like a not an underdog pick. Okay, on to Fight Pass prelims. Patrick Durkin Cummins fights Antonio Minotauro Rogerio Nogueira. Okay, Rogerio Nogueira has a 21-7 record, 6 wins by KO TKO, 6 wins by sub. Has those 2 losses by KO TKO. 39 years old. He's 6'2" on a 2-fight losing streak. Trains out of Team Nogueira. He's a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Solid boxer. Well, he's relatively heavy-handed. His takedown defense isn't the greatest though. Patrick Cummins, 8-3 record, 4 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub. All 3 of his losses are by KO TKO. He's 35 years old. He's 6'2", trading losses and wins. He's a strong wrestler, particularly good top control and ground and pound. His stand-up, average at best, competent at worst. His chin is not very good, though. I mean, he just does not take a hit very well. And that's my problem with this fight. It's like, as much as Cummins has the advantage into wrestling, which I think he'll use, there is a good chance, not a good chance, but there is a chance that Nogueira just hits him clean and puts him out. It's just one of those things that is a liability about Cummins here. Here's the thing though. The way I see the fight going, takedown, ground and pound, ride position, steal rounds. Takedown, rinse and repeat. Takedown, ground and pound, get the ride position. And yeah, I'm going to go Patrick Cummins to win this one by decision. I just think he gets that takedown consistently, ride out top control, get that ground and pound going, and just win by decision. Next fight after that, Francisco Massaranduba Trinaldo fights Yancy the Kid Medeiros. Okay, Trinaldo, 19-4 record, 6 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by sub. Has those 2 losses by submission. 37 years old, he's 5'8" on a 5-fight win streak. Trains out of Evolucao Thai with the likes of like Sergio Moraes and Castro. Oh jeez, I've got his name now. Well, anyways, Trinaldo has some solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills, especially if he's on top. His offensive takedown ability is not too bad. It's more strength than technique, though. And his stand-up, he's finding a more in-and-out style of stand-up. It's something I've noticed in the Park fight and in the Pearson fight. He fought Park, right? Yeah. Right? Yeah. He goes in, throws a hit, gets out, and moves around. Yancy Medeiros, 12-3 record with 1 no contest. 6 wins by KO TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO. 28 years old, he's 5'10". He has good stand-up. He fights pretty long. He's particularly heavy-handed. His overall grappling is actually pretty good too. He has a good front choke series, and his takedown defense actually isn't too bad. I had a hard time picking this fight, but Francisco Trinaldo has been something of that gatekeeper of lightweight. And Medeiros, I kind of given up on him as a prospect, really, of the division. I think he's a good, fun action fighter. I think he's kind of topped out as such. Trinaldo, I think his in and out style will probably give Medeiros a couple fits. And then Trinaldo also has the ability to take the fight to the ground if need be. So I'll go Francisco Trinaldo to win this one by decision. Um, I had a hard time picking this one though because Medeiros does hit hard. His stand up isn't that bad by any means. And, he's a pretty tough guy. Um, he's the better finisher of the two, I think. But, yeah, I'm just liking what I see out of Masranduba these days. An in and out style has been working for him. And then he has the grappling if need be. So, Francisco Tornado by decision. Next fight after that, Sergio the Panther Moraes fights Luan Tarzan Chagas. Chagas, 14-1 record, 6 wins by KO TKO, 8 wins by sub. Also has 1 loss by sub, so he is a finisher. He's never been to decision. 22 years old, he's 5'11". He's on a 9-fight win streak, taking this fight on short notice. It's his first fight in the UFC. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills are solid. He's real active off his back. I saw one of his fights. His boxing's real sloppy though. Like he'll run in, kind of lunging and loop his punches, but his kicks are actually pretty decent. Sergio Moraes, 10-2 record, 1 win by TKO, 7 wins by sub, 33 years old, 6 foot on a 4-fight win streak. Trains out of Abalu Cup Thai. He is a top Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. His boxing can be a bit reckless. Defensively, he's not the greatest, but he's got a good chin and he's just pretty tough too. With that said, I like Sergio Moraes here. As much as he has liabilities on the feet, he should be the better BJJ practitioner. Chagas can get a bit sloppy and become susceptible to that takedown. Also doesn't help that Chagas is taking this fight on short notice. Moraes, once he's on the ground, should be the superior grappler here and BJJ practitioner. So I go Sergio Moraes by submission. And finally, Hanata Moicano Carnero fights Zubaira Warrior Tukagov. Tukagov, 18-3 record, 6 wins by KO 1 win by sub, 25 years old. He's 5'8", on a 9-fight win streak, trains out of Tiger Muay Thai. I like this guy's kickboxing. His takedown defense is pretty solid. His overall grappling game is just average at best, though. Renato Carnero, 9-0 undefeated record with 1 draw, 5 wins by sub, 4 wins by decision. He's 5'11" on a 4-fight win streak. Trains at a constrictor team with the likes of Ronnie Yaya. He did last fight in December of 2014. He has some strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. He is a particularly good back taker. Dude, I've seen this guy choke a guy out with one arm. In his one fight, that one fight in the UFC, he actually did show some improved stand-up too, though. This one's hard for me to call because I like both these guys. I think Tukagov's the better striker, but he wasn't super impressive against Felipe Nover. I'll say that right now. Carnero, this guy's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills should be a lot better than Tukagov's. I just don't know if he can get the fight to the ground. That's a problem. And then the stand-up, it's getting better, but Tukagov's is better. Actually, this is a pretty tough stylistic matchup for Carnero. I have a really hard time picking this fight because I like them both. It's a case of, potential versus, stylistically, I think Tukagov's actually better stylistically. I think this might actually be a tough stylistic matchup for Carnero in the sense that I don't know if he can take the fight to the ground or outstrike Tukagov. Whereas Tukagov can most likely outstrike Carnero and defend the takedowns. That's a smart pick, I think. But Moicano, that guy's really good. He's a very good prospect. More ways to win the fight. He's a taller fighter. I'm going to go with Carnero to win this one. I think he can eventually get the fight to the ground. I'm not confident in saying that though. This is not a confident pick because I'm pretty high on Tukagov. I think that guy is a dark horse prospect of the division, but so is Carnero. I'll go Renato, Moicano, and Carnero by decision. Not confident in this pick at all though. Okay, to recap, on the main card, I have Fabricio Werdum over Stipe Miocic by decision. Ronaldo Souza over Vitor Belfort by submission. Uriah Hall beating Anderson Silva by KO or TKO. Cristiane Justino over Leslie Smith by KO or TKO. Corey Anderson beating Mauricio Hua by KO or TKO. On the Fox Sports 1 prelims, I have Demian Maia beating Matt Brown by submission. Warlley Alves over Bryan Barberena by decision. Thiago Santos beating Nate Marquardt by KO or TKO. Rob Font over John Lineker by decision. On the Fight Pass prelims, I have Patrick Cummins over Antonio Rogerio Nogueira by decision. Francisco Trinaldo over Yancy Medeiros by decision. Sergio Moraes beating Luan Chagas by submission. And Renato Carnero beating Zubair Tukagov by decision. So that's it from our predictions for UFC 198 Werdum versus Miocic. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And be sure to check out on Facebook UFC Betting Sharks. Yeah, UFC Betting Sharks, forgot the name. And please support me and my journey of being an author by buying The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom for $8.95 at www.chrismoldong.com. So, that's pretty much it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.